title on you? Hello.
Sure.
There you are.
Something like that. Dermot Mulroney.
Everyone has such a deep, professional voice.
I gave you one.
And I just sound like I'm 14.
Hey, well, you'll stand out from the crowd.
I will.
I don't think.
Unfortunately, I just wish I had one of those smooth, deep voices like you do.
You don't need it. It's not all it's cracked up to be.
No?
In fact, I just ran into a guy that was my voiceover agent in the 90s. And I felt like saying, how am I supposed to remember you? You never got me a fucking gig. But
well, let's do the intro here and get this thing
it.
going then, since we're getting acquainted. Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest currently stars in the next to Zac Efron and Robert De Niro in the brand new movie Dirty Grandpa, which opens today. You may know him from movies like About Schmidt, Young Guns, J. Edgar, The Grey, Insidious 3, and seen him on TV shows like Friends and New Girl and Shameless. But just like me, you'll know him from his most infamous role as Roger's dad in Angels in the Outfield.
yeah.
Dermot Mulroney, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, thank you. That's so funny about Angels in the Outfield, because it was such a small part,
Right.
But it was a movie. It was in the VHS days,
Right.
So when you were a kid, I can guess your age. It was a repeat watch. It was a family movie, right?
It was actually in my teenage years.
Was
when
it? Yeah.
On, and my younger sister's time period. But yeah, it was one of those. It was a Disney movie, right?
I think it was Disney, but the reason why that part that I played Joe Gordon-Levitt's father. He was 12 at the time. I was 28 or 30 or something. But I played a dad who didn't want to deal with his kid, and it left a mark.
Right.
It left a mark on the kids who saw that. I mean, it was part of the story, and maybe there's a reunion at the end or whatever. I don't remember, but I that movie gets brought up to me frequently on a regular basis, and I couldn't figure it out for the longest time until I realized, oh, I was a bad dad, and kids remembered that.
Well, that, and also it was one of those movies that I guess it was easy to get the rights to because it was on all the time.
Exactly, and they sold it for pennies.
You'd always catch it on the weekends at different points. It's like,
That's right.
Angels in the Outfield's on again.
No, that's true. Those were back in the days of residuals, too, so I probably did pretty well on that movie.
I know you from that, and we'll get into the movie in just a second, but two other roles that I really loved you in and recognize you from. One is Rachel's boss in Friends.
Yeah.
Towards the later seasons. I forgot the character's name.
It's Gavin.
Gavin, thank you. But I remember, when you rearranged her office when she had the baby and she came back and she was freaking out and everything.
Here's another thing, too. Because that was just a couple of weeks, there maybe 2 or 3 episodes is all. But now Friends, of course, was a smash hit when
huge.
But it's having its own resurgence now.
Nick at Night.
Nick at Night. Not only that, Netflix, and you can watch it. You watch 10 of them in a night, or do how the habits of people, how they watch stuff now, has brought that back. That I'll be stopped on the street for an obscure brief appearance on Friends today. That happened today.
Of course.
But for me, I hadn't heard about being on Friends for 18 years, and literally a month ago it started happening.
I think a month ago or so was the Netflix stuff, but it became part of Nick at Night many months ago.
I know, but what
worldwide
has happened?
It's still huge.
What's that?
Worldwide, it's still huge. I have friends over in England.
Something happened recently, though.
Yeah, I have friends over in England that said that, like Seinfeld is and The Simpsons are in the United States, they're always on sometime. Friends is always on in the UK and in Europe.
Yeah, so it's maybe it's just a cumulative, but like a fresh wave, or maybe enough time has gone by that we're kind of looking at that retro now. We're rewatching it or whatever. Anyway, I was kind of mystified why suddenly I'm being, people are coming up, young people are coming up and say, hey, you're Gavin from Friends, which is why I could even remember the name of the character.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
so that's its own phenomenon.
Let's explore this then. What, out of all the roles you've done, I mean, you've had an impressive body of work, TVs and movies, even animation and stuff. You were Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern, in The Batman several years ago. What do you just said now with Friends, but what do you think is your most recognizable role? What do people come up and say, I identify you with this?
My Best Friend's Wedding, for sure, yeah. But along with that, The Wedding Date, which is a very popular movie still. It has its
That was
own
the
following.
Deborah Messing movie,
Deborah
right?
Messing, where she hires me to go to England with her to her
Right.
sister's wedding.
And My Best Friend's Wedding, for those who may or may not know, is the one with Julia Roberts.
And Cameron Diaz, Rupert
Right.
Everett, where I played Julia's best friend who's getting married, and she's got a problem with it. But it has changed a little bit recently, and up until a couple of years ago, that was exclusively what people would stop me for.
For the rom-com.
Yeah, which is great. But now, because viewing habits have changed, it's different. I'm hearing Angels in the Outfield, Friends, these other things that, of the dozens of movies or shows that I've done, that seemed to be for a while, there were just a handful that had a lasting impact. And I can always kind of tell if they're going to come up and bring up Young Guns or Where the Day Takes You, like more obscure movies sometimes even I can kind of spot. Longtime Companion has its own following. But now it's different for me. I'm also...
Just because you said that right now, people listening are going, "Oh my God, he was in Young Guns." He was. I almost said Love Guns. In Young Guns, he was Dirty Steve.
Yeah, no, I did like a little ad for myself just then, but maybe it's not interesting. It is to me that the type of follower, it's shifted.
Right.
It used to be you'd have to leave your house and go see a movie.
Right.
And you'd all see it together. And now people are watching whatever they want, whenever they want, and it's affected how people approach me.
It's amazing what comes back out of nowhere, right?
Exactly.
Right.
It is very interesting these days.
Another role that I really loved you in, and it's one of my favorite movies, and when I tell people this is one of my favorite movies, they go, "Why? It's so depressing. It's such a down note. There's no real happiness or ending to it that people are used to." I love About Schmidt.
I thought you were going to say About Schmidt.
You as Randall with the Hulk Hogan Fu Manchu.
Oh my God!
And the balding mullet.
The balding mullet. That's
Right?
exactly how it was written in the script.
It was balding mullet.
Balding mullet with a handlebar mustache.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
You're just such an ass, and you're the fiance to Jack Nicholson's daughter,
Hope
and
Davis
he's just
plays, yes.
staring at you. He's like he doesn't like you, but like everything else in his life, he can't say anything because if he says something, she'll never talk to him again. And
It's a great movie. It's one of the best by far that I've been in for quality and for for heart and for just quality. It's so fantastic to be in that role, to be cast in something that I hadn't really played before, with a look that was specifically written the way Alexander Payne saw it. That I was cast to do was phenomenal, and really I think that movie does have a hopeful spirit to it. Maybe it's just that he's hoping his daughter doesn't marry this dope, as he calls me. But thanks for that compliment. That's one that I hold very dear.
That movie itself. On the morning show that I work on, we all love this movie, but we always state that it's such a reality check because when he goes back to see his childhood home, it's a tire store. When he's having to pretty much train his replacement as he's leaving the company. And you think he's retiring, but they're kind of force retiring him.
He goes to visit his old friend who, as it turns out, has slept with his wife, his recently dead wife years ago. Everything isn't what it seems to him.
The office scene is like he finally leaves and he'll stop by to say, "Oh, I just came to check and see how you're doing." No, we got it. As he's leaving, he sees what pretty much was his soul, all the work that he put in over the years in these boxes just being thrown out into the dumpster like it meant nothing.
Oh my God.
The whole movie is a down note, but such a reality check.
It's a brilliant movie. And obviously Alexander's, Jim Taylor co-wrote that. They've gone on to make additional great films. So looking back, I was I knew it then, lucky to be even cast in that part. So, yeah, that one lives on. People do really care about that movie.
I went out and bought it.
And it's one of Nicholson's great nuanced performances. Not all of his performances are nuanced. And since we haven't seen him on screen enough recently, its value in his filmography is, grows. I'd love it if he were in more movies.
There's so much else I want to talk to you about, but let's get to the matter at hand as to why you were here, and then we'll talk about some other things.
Right on.
Dirty Grandpa is out today with Zac Efron, who plays your son, and Robert De Niro, who plays your dad.
Right.
And it's you're so straight-laced in this movie where you're I don't know if this is giving anything away. Are you the one that kind of tricks your son into going on the trip with him?
No, I can't figure out why my father would want my son to go with him at the beginning. And
right.
I have designs for my son, as you said. Maybe De Niro failed me as a father, so I'm going to be extra stringent with my son. So he's on the straight and narrow. He's going to marry the overzealous father, keep him buttoned down, and he's going to marry the partner in the law firm's daughter, and
so he can get the job and
he can go to the country club, et cetera, et cetera.
That's
the
very old money thinking.
Yeah,
it's back to the days when you had arranged marriages.
Exactly.
But it's just like, no, marry into her to up your social status or up your financial status.
And it's not the way to advertise the movie, because the way to advertise the movie is it's the most outrageous thing I've ever been in. It's nasty. Bring your earplugs. You can't believe what's coming out of De Niro's mouth. You can't believe that Efron gets put in those situations. Yes, he takes his shirt off. But the thing that's interesting about the movie, or additionally interesting, is that it has a soul to it. A lot of these comedies are hilarious, and they're just kind of lacking a core truth. And here, ours is so simple that I didn't get the parenting I wanted from my father, and so I bungle my parenting. And you see the result. You put the kid who doesn't want to be so contained together with the grandfather who just
doesn't want to be around anybody.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's a great mix because there's a flaw in the family. There's something, and it's just, from my point of view, for this point, it's the story of adult men in a family,
right?
Which to me is really interesting. I got 3 brothers. My dad's still around. Like those dynamics are very subtle sometimes. And it plays really truthfully in this outrageous, raunchy movie. So to be able to do both those things, I give a lot of credit to the director and the writer.
De Niro's motive for going down to spring break is the mindset of somebody who isn't married or who hasn't been married, where you said, oh my God, if I was married to that person, the second they die, I'd be out dating or whatever like that.
Yeah.
And that's somebody who's never been married. When you are married, and you have a long marriage and history, with your family and stuff like that, and that person died, any human being with a soul would be mourning and would take a while. And even after a year, they'd start to feel bad. And then their kids would be saying, no, it's time for you to go out, whatever. The next day, after the funeral, they're on the road trip, and he's already trying to pick up girls.
Oh, my God. It's out of control. Yeah, the film opens at my mother's funeral. So he's just lost his wife. He's been widowed, and he can't wait to get his pants off.
Right.
I mean, it's unbelievable. And there's some stuff in this movie I
think the line in the trailer was, she told me on her deathbed, she wants me to move on.
Exactly. And then the rest of the scene you can't show in the preview. I mean, you really can't, because he tells his grandson specifically what he would like to do next. I mean, in very graphic terms. So, if you like De Niro in his great comedies, of course, we all love The Fockers and Analyze This and other great comedies, even some recently. This is just like an extreme version of that.
Now, knowing De Niro and knowing the history, is this the first time you got to work with him?
Yes, this is okay. This is my first time.
So, whether you like his current projects or not, he's still Robert De Niro. He's still a legend. There's a presence. You're kind of in awe when you first meet him. Even if you're still around him for a while, you're still like, you're not on this level with this guy. And even though he's being friendly and you're hanging out and going to dinner and all that stuff, you're like, I'm really not this guy's friend, but he's Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Do you watch, or everybody else watching him do these things and reading the line stuff, and then you go to him and you go, you're De Niro. Why are you doing this?
No, I guess I did wonder, why are you doing this? Because he was also shooting Joy like at the same time, or they shut down, and he did a couple of weeks on O. Russell's movie, and then came back to complete. And so he was doing 2 or 3 movies at the same time. And of course you think he doesn't need to do that.
No, not at all.
I think we have the impression he's an entrepreneur. He's got hotels. He's got business. He could probably not work another day.
Film festival.
We can assume. I don't know his business personally. But it's pretty. I think you find out just by observing that he wants to remain engaged and be doing something. He doesn't want to sit around doing nothing.
Right.
So he's doing three movies at a time.
He'll
It's
do whatever he can.
The most inspiring thing. He keeps to himself. I won't pretend that we became great friends or anything. He's very contained on the set, and then they give him these lines, and he just goes off the rails. But it was a great experience to see how he works and how much energy he expends when he doesn't need to. All very, very good example to see. I got a lot of love and respect for him, but we're not buddies because he doesn't have any need for that.
Right. He's De Niro.
He's De Niro, and he's got a couple movies to make this week.
What was it like meeting him for the first time? Did you meet him on set? Did you meet him at a table? When did you first get to meet the guy?
I think I'd probably met him once or twice over the years at an event or whatever, but it didn't really impact either of us. So really, the first I met him, the first day we shot, I met him on the set on our marks. Hey, Bob, how's it going? I'm Dermot. It was
you
just,
said, "Hey, Bob."
Yeah, I knew
Wow.
that he preferred to be called Bob because I asked, or he'd already told other people. He also had already done something incredibly generous. I didn't know it at the time. Somebody looked up the label of the wine bottle that he gave each of us. It was like $1,000 bottle of wine.
Wow.
With a handwritten note that says, "Break a leg, Bob," on the very first day of shooting. And this is for 8 or 10 cast members in that funeral scene. So he's aces, this guy, for real. I don't even drink wine, but I thought that was
So you're not going to turn that down.
incredibly thoughtful and cool and like old school, like a good move. So I knew I loved him anyhow, but we just met in the pew at the church, and it was very unassuming greeting. We didn't.
Is that is De Niro one of the guys that you looked up to as far as acting?
Absolutely,
Did you ever
yeah.
think you would ever have a shot working with him, or?
No, there were a couple of times when I think I was close to getting parts, maybe in Rounders. Remember that movie? Where I thought maybe I'd have a chance to work for him.
Just last week, we had Brian Koppelman who wrote Rounders. Yeah,
exactly. A time or two where I was in the chase to get in a cast with him. This part just kind of came out of the blue. I was thrilled to get the call. And so I'd fantasized, or I'd imagined being in a cast with De Niro for sure, as one of your idols and one of the great actors living, or of all time. I did not expect to be playing his son, and I did not expect to be running out the last 3 reels of the movie with that. You haven't seen what happens to me yet.
Right.
They can't really reveal it, but there's some designs, I guess you'd call them, that have been sketched on my face through the end of the movie. So suffice it to say that I'm drawn into their mayhem unwillingly.
There's a Sharpie involved.
There's a Sharpie involved, exactly. And so once we're toward the end of the shoot, or my part of the shoot, and it's me and Bob and Zach and Jason Mantzoukas in an ice cream truck.
Jason's great, by the way. Do you know his other work?
Genius
on
comedian.
The League.
Yeah.
And he has a great podcast called How Did This Get Made?
Yeah.
Where him and Paul Scheer just sit down and they dissect old movies, start to finish, and they try to figure out who funded this thing, who approved it.
Yeah. No, Jason is one of a kind, a true, intensely talented comedian, and is hilarious in this movie. So some of these scenes, I just have to be there, and the heavy lifting's done by true geniuses, Bob included, and Zach does an incredible job. Straight man to a certain extent, but really has great comedic timing, and it's fun to see all that. To be in that little group.
Running out of time with you, I want to get the plug in again real quick, and then wrap up here with you. Dirty Grandpa, it's out today. Go see it. Did De Niro send a Christmas card to his movie son?
No. Like I said, we're not. I would love to, but I can't claim we're friends.
Right.
So I'll look forward to another job with him sometime, and have nothing but fondness and respect for him in the meantime.
Before you go, one movie that I saw you in last year, and I'm a big fan of the whole franchise. You were in Insidious 3.
Insidious 3, yeah.
That is a horror movie genre that I'm not into the slasher film stuff, but like the suspenseful, scary stuff, paranormal kind of stuff. I've been learning to enjoy and stuff. This movie was a prequel to the story to show you where it all kicked off.
Yeah.
And you as the father in the role there, amazing. And that window scene, terrifying.
Yeah.
I just rewatched it not too long ago, and that thing freaks you out because you look out the window, nothing, and then you turn around again, and the thing's there grabbing you to pull you right out of the window.
It was an amazing shot. I knew when the director was working on it that it was going to be really effective. It's definitely a high point in the horror scares in that movie, and it was all done practically too. So if you can picture it, the camera follows me out to look at the window. No, I can't say it's all practical because they applied green screen there. So you see the body on the cement.
Right.
That's added with visual effects. But the practical part, the camera returns and goes to look out the window with the girl, and that guy's right there. So he's on a stunt wire, and he moves in while the camera comes back in the window. So that's all for real, and it comes right up in your face.
So while you're shooting it, you don't expect it to be as terrifying as it is until you see the final cut of it.
It was great when I saw it, but I really had high hopes for that shot. It was highly technical, the timing, getting him in while the camera's just only momentarily pointed the other direction, and et cetera. I really thought that was going to be the best scare in that movie. And it was great to join a popular franchise. You know, some people actually say that's the second best Insidious movie.
I think it is.
Right on.
There's the first and the third. It's almost following a Star Wars.
Oh,
pattern.
I heard too that they're doing a fourth that'll come in.
Are you
between.
part of that?
No.
Okay.
And we're in between the third and the first. There's one more in that prequel world.
Just keep putting them out.
That's what I said for sure. Yeah. Lee Wanell is the writer director of those and does a great job with those movies.
I have officially run out of time.
Hey, right on.
I
man.
am so sorry, but I could talk to you forever about all the. I mean, there's so much other stuff that
I
you've done, but we haven't
appreciate that.
got
You
into
picked
it.
out some good ones.
I'm a big fan of yours, Dermot Mulroney. The movie is Dirty Grandpa. It's out today. Go see it. Of course, Zac Efron, Robert De Niro. That's a great cast. Next time you're in New York, come by, say hello.
Sure will. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Take care, man.
Appreciate it.